When cops assault a black woman, they discover she's their boss. You won't believe their faces. It all began on a dreary, rain-soaked evening that seemed to hold its breath. The streetlights flickered like lost souls, casting eerie shadows over the asphalt. Unseen eyes watched as a group of officers approached a lone woman standing near a graffiti-laden wall. Her name was Nia, her presence electric, the kind that turned heads and dropped jaws. Rumors swirled about this unassuming woman, barely 5 feet tall, yet anyone who crossed paths with her felt the weight of her unyielding spirit. A woman's fury ignited when the blue uniform slammed her against the wall, their shouts slicing through the night. But behind the fear, something even more bewildering lingered. She wasn't just anyone. Her life was a whirlwind of triumphs and trials, a life that took her from being underappreciated to wielding the kind of power that could make or break the precinct. In their harried attempts to assert authority, the officers were blissfully unaware. They didn't know her connection to the police chief himself or the countless lives she'd influenced. The tension crackled in the air as her eyes darted around, assessing her situation, her body pulsing with indignation. Did they realize who they were up against? As the officers fumbled their accusations, stammering out incoherent words, a couple of onlookers gathered, faces a mix of curiosity and disbelief. One man leaned closer, squinting through the rain, whispering, "Isn't that Nia? She's got some serious ties." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Eyes widened, confusion mixed with urgency. The sirens that had just filled the air seemed to fall silent, as if honoring the quiet storm brewing before them. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Just then, something shifted. Her voice, usually firm, now rang with a terrifying calmness as she stated, "This won't end how you think." The tension skyrocketed. The officers exchanged glances, doubt seeping into their bravado, as the reality of the situation pressed against them like a ton of bricks. Could it be true? Was she really in charge here? The staggering realization dawned on them, creeping along the edges of their minds. And just like that, the storm crashed. The struggle between despair and revelation tightened around them. It hung heavy in the air, drawing the eyes of the entire crowd. A bright flash lit up the sky just then, accompanied by that ear-splitting sound. Someone gasped. Could this be where everything changed? Or would it lead to something darker still? The bright flash illuminated the night, a stark white glare that washed over the scene like a tidal wave. The crowd recoiled instinctively, whispering, gasping, pulse rates quickening with confusion and fear. Nia stood firm, her small frame radiating an unexpected strength amidst chaos. It was a standoff, but not in the way anyone expected. "Stay back!" One officer shouted, his voice betraying a crack of panic. Another hesitated, their grip on the baton wavering as their gaze flicked between Nia and the onlookers. They hadn't anticipated how a single woman wrapped in storm clouds could penetrate their imagined fortress of authority. The thunder roared, drowning out the street sounds, as rain pelted harder against the asphalt. But there was a serene stillness around Nia. The chaos around her was electric, and she thrived on it. She took a breath, her heart steady despite the venomous energy crackling about. "You know who I am," she stated, her tone unwavering. "You think this is a game? You've played it for too long. Now it's time to face the music." The officers, caught between arrogance and sheer shock, were stumbling through their own tangled thoughts. One officer, a young man with wide eyes, mumbled something about protocol. Another sneered, trying to regain control, "You're just a nobody. This is hourly enough." Nia's bark sliced through the air, silencing him. The finality in her voice settled like an anchor in the turbulent waters of their fears. You don't know what you're up against. You think you can intimidate me? I've seen what happens on this street. And it's long past time someone drew a line. The crowd shifted restlessly, sensing the shifting tide. Nia could feel the energy flowing from the gathering people. They were staring, mouths agape. That connection ignited a fire within her. They mattered. Their lives mattered. Now more than ever, suddenly, a low rumble of sirens could be heard in the distance, a stark reminder that the chaos was far from over. Nia's thoughts raced. Would reinforcements show up to aid the officers, or would they finally accept that she was no longer a shadow on the street? They were in her territory now. Another flash lit the night, but this one was different. The unmistakable sound of camera shutters began to click, and several bystanders had pulled out their phones, documenting the confrontation. Viral potential hung thick in the air like the relentless rain. Nia's resolve deepened. This was her moment, and it would not pass by unnoticed. Call him, she commanded, staring directly into the eyes of the officer who had yelled moments before. Call the chief. Let him come. Let him see what you've done. Fear danced in every officer's eyes now. Each was frozen, caught in a web of realization. Not only was she their boss, she had the entire community witnessing this vile act. A wave of urgency crashed through the officers, and they scrambled for their radios, fumbling under the weight of undeniable truth. Out of control, one officer whispered, reverberating endlessly in the tension that now twisted the damp air. The crowd could feel the pivot. The former power dynamic was teetering on the brink. Would justice finally prevail? Or had they merely awakened a storm that would consume them all? As the sound of radios crackled to life, demanding attention, Nia squared her shoulders, determination igniting her spirit. She would not back down. Tell him I want answers, she said, voice fierce yet laced with composure. This ends tonight. In that heartbeat, everything had changed. It was clear that the streets were ready for revolution. But as the officer's finger trembled over the transmission button, Nia sensed the air shift once more. What else was waiting in the dark? Would the chief respond, or would something far more unexpected occur? The night was just beginning to unravel. A crackle of static erupted from the officer's radio, breaking the taut silence that had fallen like a heavy curtain. It was the chief's voice, soaked in authority and urgency, demanding to know what the hell was happening. Nia's heart raced, a mix of anticipation and dread washing over her. She was seconds away from turning an ordinary night into history. Get a grip, the first officer muttered under his breath as he fumbled with the radio. But Nia had heard him. The strength she felt inside flickered like the lightning above, illuminating thoughts buried deep within her, thoughts of all the times they looked past her, dismissed her, brushed her aside as though she were just another name on a long list of forgotten grievances. The crowd's murmurs morphed into an almost rhythmic chant, their hope contagious. Nia! 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 Echoed around her. It sent sparks down her spine, firing her resolve like fuel to a flame. Each chant felt like a heartbeat, a rallying cry resonating from soul to soul. She was no longer alone. The officers shifted nervously, the weight of the moment pressing against them. Their badges felt heavier, less like symbols of safety and more like shackles tied to a sinking ship. I swear, if you touch her, one officer began, but his voice wavered, the threat lost in the escalating tension. Do you hear them? Nia asked, capturing the gaze of every wary officer. This isn't about me anymore. It's about all of us. The power of her voice sliced through the air, sharp and raw, each word laced with emotion. You think you can silence me? This isn't a game anymore, and I'm not your enemy. But if you keep denying us our humanity, the unspoken threat hung over them. Suddenly, the sirens grew louder, drowning out the chant. Nia's heart dropped. More cops were coming. Fear wrapped its icy fingers around her resolve. Would they see her as a threat? Or would they finally realize she stood for something they could not ignore? The first patrol car screeched to a halt, its flashing lights cutting through the storm like an emergency beacon. The new officers clambered out, weapons poised, eyes darting between the chaos and their fellow officers, now outnumbered. "Step away from her." One of the new arrivals barked, a beefy man with a square jaw and hard eyes. His gaze shifted to the original officers, confusion flickering. "What's the situation here?" Nia stepped forward, her chest tightening, every inch of her boiling with courage. "It's time to face your own truths," she spat, not backing down even as several weapons aimed toward her. "You don't have to be afraid of me. You should be afraid of what's out there." She gestured to the crowd, no longer idle spectators but a collective force strung together by pain and anger. The armed officers hesitated, caught between protocol and a force they clearly did not comprehend, the tension palpable. The rain drenched them all. Then came an unlikely voice from the back, one of the original officers who'd been quiet until now, stepping forward, his hands shaking slightly. "You don't have to do this," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "We can talk." Nia's heart skipped. This was a fracture in their defense, a glimpse of hope in the storm. But hope was a fragile thing, and she knew it could be ripped away just as quickly. As the rain poured, doubt seeped back into her mind. Would this moment break through to them, or would it only deepen the animosity? The new officers stood rigid, the atmosphere thick with indecision. Nia eyed the original officer as if waiting for a signal, a single chance to either save herself or ignite a fire that couldn't be extinguished, and just as she opened her mouth to speak, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. A low rumble that echoed through the streets, pulling focus away from the standoff. What was that? Someone in the crowd gasped. Nia felt the hair on the back of her neck stand on end. What else was coming? The night had more secrets to unveil, and whatever lurked just beyond the horizon might change everything. Would they choose to confront their own demons or remain puppets to a system crumbling under its own weight? As lightning illuminated the sky once more, Nia prepared herself for the unknown, ready to face whatever storm was brewing. Was this confrontation merely the beginning? Or had they stirred something much darker waiting to emerge? The air crackled with tension. Nia could feel it vibrating in her bones, the very essence of the moment thick and suffocating. The murmurs from the crowd swelled, a surge of voices and emotions echoing her own heartbeat, pulsating louder than the sirens still blaring in the background. "What's that noise?" Another officer shouted, anxiety creeping into his voice as he glanced around, unsure of what they were dealing with. It wasn't just thunder anymore, it was something deeper, a growl that felt primal, echoing through the city like a warning. The crowd's chant faltered, replaced by a new wave of fear. Nia locked eyes with the young officer who had spoken earlier. His fear mirrored hers, but something else flickered their defiance. Understanding. She felt compelled to bridge the gap. "This is your chance," she urged, to step forward instead of stepping back. "To be the change we need, not just another pair of eyes in a system that's failing both of us." Yet behind her, the ground rumbled again, this time more violently. Nia's stomach dropped. People recoiled, looking at each other, fear and confusion etched on their faces. The heavy rain drummed against pavement, but it was this rumble that set a chill in the air. Something was coming, fast and fierce. "Get behind the cars!" One officer yelled, and panic rippled through the line like an electric shock. But nobody moved. They were caught in the raw energy of the moment, frozen between their roles as enforcers of the law and witnesses to a reckoning. Nia took a step closer to the vocal officer, their eyes locked in a battle of wills. "The world needs to see you stand with us. This is bigger than us. It always has been." Her voice rose above the noise of chaos, drawing every pair of eyes toward her once more. Suddenly, the ground erupted. A crack split the asphalt, shooting up small geysers of water, sending debris flying into the air. Gasps filled the night as pedestrians scattered, some diving instinctively, others staring wide-eyed at the unfolding disaster. "What the hell is happening?" shouted the beefy officer, arms raised defensively, but Nia felt that tremor was more than earth-shifting. This was a tremor of the people, a call to action. Then, as if answering an unspoken command, the chant erupted again from the crowd, louder than before. Nia! 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 It pulsed like a heartbeat, wild and unrestrained. In that moment, clarity washed over her. She wasn't merely contending against the officers before her, she was igniting a revolution. A movement sparked by the collective rage and grief of her community. But would they join her in this reckoning, or would fear push them back into the cycle of oppression? Fight for us! She yelled, desperation lacing her words. But the officers were frozen, wrestling with their own fears as the crowd rallied around Nia's energy. Lightning flared again overhead, a shocking backdrop for the turmoil unfolding beneath. Look out! Yelled one officer as a shadow loomed behind him, a figure emerging from the thickening darkness, face obscured by a hood, standing defiantly against the storm. The air crackled with foreboding, the figure's presence adding another level of uncertainty. As the chant rose, so did her anxiety. Who was this new player in their unfolding drama? An ally or a foe? Nia's heart raced, racing faster than the thundering chaos. Each thrum of the crowd echoed her own dread as she braced herself for whatever confrontation lay just beyond the horizon. And then, the unknown figure stepped forward, revealing a familiar face. A face Nia thought she'd never see again. A lost connection suddenly revived, a ghost from the past that could change everything. What had once been a night of rebellion was morphing into something twisted and unforeseen. Nia drew a sharp breath, the tension brimming around her. What secrets did this figure carry? And would their return ignite the fire burning within the crowd or suffocate it under the weight of the past? The hood fell back, revealing a face that hit Nia like a freight train. Tara. Her old friend, the one who had vanished into the shadows of their divided world. The one who had sworn to leave it all behind to escape the chaos. Nia blinked, heart racing. Tara. The crowd seemed to pause, caught in unison, eyes darting between the two women. Tara stood tall, her expression a mixture of defiance and regret. Nia, she said, voice steady despite the chaos. I came back, for you. What do you mean? Nia's voice barely rose above the tumult, confusion writhing inside her chest. Why now? Why here? Tara stepped closer, her voice low but urgent. I know things know what they're planning. Your fight, it's bigger than this moment. But we need to act fast. They're not just here to watch. It's a trap. Nia's breath caught in her throat. Her heart raced, and not only from the adrenaline of the moment. A trap? You mean, the officers are here to provoke us? To escalate things? Exactly. Tara scanned the officers' faces, their tension palpable. They want chaos. It gives them an excuse. Just one spark, and they'll unleash hell. With each word, reality twisted and turned. The crowd, the officers, the storm above it all took on a new significance. Nia felt the weight of those around her, she could sense their readiness to unleash their fears, their pain, but now she feared they might be led into something dangerous. The officers, once merely spectators caught in the storm, now felt like predators watching as the prey stirred. One large officer with a shaved head shifted his weight, shifting attention toward them, casting a shadow long enough to chill Nia's spine. Let us get out of here, Nia urged Tara. We can find somewhere safe, talk this through. No. Tara interrupted, voice firm. We need to stand together. This is our chance to show them we're not afraid. We can't let them feeling powerful anymore. The chanting crowd had stalled, uncertainty rippling through like a fever. Nia had a choice, retreat into safety or let this moment push her into the fire. Behind her, a new crack opened in the earth, and debris flew again, reinforcing the volatile atmosphere. Do it. Tara demanded, urgency forcing Nia to refocus. You have to lead. Let them see this isn't just a protest, it's a movement. Nia processed Tara's words, her heart pounding like a drum. She felt the sparks of rebellion igniting around her. Are you with me? She asked, turning to the crowd. Are you ready to fight for what's right? To stand against the oppression? To show them that fear cannot silence us? The crowd responded, voices rising again, fueled by the realization that this fight was no longer hers alone. A roar echoed back, shaking the very ground, yes. 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 Tara stepped into the radius of the chant, her power blooming in the storm of voices. Nia felt the past and the present collide, a bridge of connection. They weren't just friends, they were warriors, united against a tide ready to sweep them both away, but as she gazed at Tara, dread crawled back up her spine. What remained unspoken between them? Secrets veiled in shadows, just like Tara's return. A hint of betrayal lingered just beneath the surface. Then, a fierce wind gust tore through the crowd, swirling the rain, tossing panic and uncertainty anew. The fierce glow of flashes lit the sky above. What awaited them in the remnants of storm and chaos? And would unraveling the past compel them to fall or rise together? Nia took a deep breath, ready to confront the storm inside and outside. But would the truth behind Tara's return strengthen their fight or divide them in their moment of reckoning? Nia's heart thundered in her chest, the echo of the crowd's roar still pulsing through the air like a heartbeat. But as she searched Tara's eyes, she couldn't shake the feeling that something vital was hidden just beneath the surface. Did Tara truly come back for her, or was there another reason, one dark and tangled in shadows? Before she could question further, the ground trembled beneath their feet once more. The officers, once silent observers, began taking calculated steps toward the stage where Nia stood. The leader, that imposing officer with the shaved head, raised a hand. It was a gesture that demanded silence. Nia's breath hitched. A low murmur rippled through the crowd, uncertainty spilling back like a wave that sought to drown their newfound courage. "Stay strong," Nia urged, her voice cutting through the tension. "We can't let them intimidate us. They want us divided. Together." Tara shouted, and the weight of her words latched onto the atmosphere, igniting flames of resolve and hearts wavering. "They fear us when we unite." With each fleeting second, the officer's resolve hardened. The lead officer drew closer, his eyes darting over the crowd, calculating. "You all need to disperse," he barked. The command hung heavy, a threat laced in authority. A thrill of panic skimmed through Nia, but she refused to yield. "No. We will not be silenced. We stand for our rights." At that moment, the sky above seemed to fracture, a blinding flash illuminating the scene. Nia squinted against the glare, fear pooling in the pit of her stomach. The crowd responded, caught up in the tempest. "We won, back down." The chant grew louder, but the officers' stony faces remained unmoved. Their stance was a declaration: they would crush this rebellion before it could bloom. Just then, a woman stepped out from the back of the crowd, her silhouette framed in the glowing remnants of lightning. Nia squinted to recognize her. "Is that?" Before Nia could finish her thought, the woman shouted through the frenzy, "This is our moment. Stand your ground." It was Ava, a former ally turned activist. Nia felt a surge of hope and recognition. Together, under Ava's leadership, they had fought many battles, but this was a fire far more intense. Some officers exchanged bewildered glances, as though they had just been hit by a wave of disbelief. Perhaps they hadn't anticipated such a united front. They seemed to reconsider their path, if only for a moment. Tara leaned closer to Nia, her voice low but urgent. "We can't let them use us against one another. We have to reveal their games. Don't let fear dictate our actions." The force of Tara's conviction was a balm against Nia's uncertainty. The rains poured harder overhead, but the thunder served as an anthem, urging them on. Nia placed her hands on her hips, looking out over the crowd, with all the resolve she could muster. She raised her voice. "Do you see it? Do you feel it?" She gestured broadly. "They want us lost in confusion. They want us to turn against each other. But we are more powerful together." Suddenly, in the periphery, a police vehicle sped through the chaos, sirens wailing, tires screeching. The crowd gasped, eyes tracking its path. "What are they doing?" Nia whispered to Tara, dread curling in her gut, but before Tara could reply, the van skidded to a stop. Doors burst open, 2 officers pouring out, weapons drawn, but their eyes flickered with uncertainty. That's when the realization hit Nia like a wave crashing against a rock. They didn't know who was really leading this charge. As the officers approached, lights flashing crazily against the rain-soaked pavement, Nia knew there was a critical moment ahead. Would they back down or escalate? Would they truly see the strength in the crowd or crush it before it blossomed? "Stay strong, stay united," Nia bellowed, the weight of her words carrying unyielding energy, but just as the first officer shouted an order, and just as the air thickened with tension, Tara stepped forward, her face grim and determined. "It's time they know who they're dealing with." Nia's heart raced at the implications. What was Tara planning? Would this lead to their salvation or their downfall? As the charged air vibrated with uncertainty, Nia held her breath, poised on the precipice of chaos. Would they witness the inevitable fracture, or would the storm yield the unity they desperately needed? Tara's voice rang out like a clarion call, layering determination over the electric uncertainty that crackled in the air. "Enough of this. They think they can intimidate us like we're nothing. It's time to show them what happens when you mess with the wrong people." Nia felt adrenaline surge through her, warming her blood in the rain-soaked chill. Tara's eyes sparkled with fire. This was more than just a moment of rebellion, it was the beginning of something monumental. But as the crowd shifted, doubt fluttered darkly in Nia's mind. What if that fire consumed them all? The lead officer stepped forward, a sneer twisting his hardened features. "You think shouting makes you powerful? You're nothing." He gestured toward his fellow officers, and they moved like a pack, muscles rippling beneath uniforms, weapons gleaming ominously. "Do you really think we're afraid of you?" Ava's voice sliced through the air, commanding attention. "You're the ones who are trapped, playing puppet to a system you can't control." Gasps rippled through the crowd, newfound defiance sparking from the tension. Nia glanced at Tara, who remained resolute, her jaw set. "It's now or never." Tara shouted, and the roar from the crowd erupted like 1,000 engines igniting. Nia felt her heart gallop like a wild stallion. What did this mean? For every step the officers took toward the stage, Nia could see both support and confusion ripple through the people. Would they hold their ground, or would fear turn them to flight? "On my mark," Tara called, raising her fist. "Ready." Nia held her breath, the world around her fading until only the thrum of her pounding heart remained. "No." A sudden voice, sharp and panicked, broke through. Nia turned, just in time to see another officer, one she hadn't seen before, bump into the first. This one hesitated, his brow furrowed, unsure. "It's not worth it, man," he murmured under his breath, but the other's scowl only deepened. "What did you say?" The lead officer barked, eyes narrowing dangerously. The newcomer hesitated, and shadows danced across the glistening pavement as the crowd held its breath. Uncertainty rippled forward, grasping everyone. "Stand your ground. Don't let their fear intimidate you." Nia cried, her voice rising above the crackling tension. She jumped, arms stretched wide to rally the masses, a human beacon in their storm. As though ignited by an unseen spark, the crowd responded, echoing her words. "Stand your ground." The officer's eyes darted nervously, the hunter becoming the hunted. The shift was palpable, electric, a quicksilver promise of change humming in the air, and then, the unexpected happened. The officer broke away, stepping back and shaking his head. "This isn't what we signed up for. Let them have their moment." The energy shifted unalterably, like a pendulum swinging. A wave of gasps rolled through the crowd, charging the atmosphere with confusion and hope. Were they about to witness a fracture in the ranks? Were the officers really questioning their own purpose? "Together!" Tara shouted. "It's our moment." In the next heartbeat, it felt as if the entire collective breath of the crowd hitched in suspense. Nia's stomach twisted. This was the moment of truth. One wrong move could send everything spiraling. Before Nia could process the implications, the lead officer pulled his weapon, voice booming to cover his fear, "Get back. Or we'll take you down." "No." Nia's voice cut through, an instinctual scream of defiance. "Do you really want to turn this into a war? We deserve better. We just want to be heard." But the air thickened with dread. As devices hummed in the background, every eye fell on the face of the lead officer, whose expression was now an unsettling mix of rage and fear. Nia could feel the pulse in her throat, tension constricting around her. Was this escalation about to ignite in violence? Would fear extinguish the courage they had just summoned? Ava stepped forward, an unwavering force in the storm. "We are more than a moment. We are a movement." One of the younger officers, clearly battling inner turmoil, glanced between Ava and the first officer. Something clicked behind his eyes, a glimmer of understanding, a break in the shield, but where would this lead? Would they witness a breakthrough or a blowout? Nia's heart raced. The stakes were higher than ever. Their collective breath was at the tipping point, but just like that, a disruption made everyone jump. A flash to the side. The press had breached the perimeter. Nia's pulse quickened. "What will we show them?" she thought. And she realized, with sheer clarity, that their very unity was now standing under the blaze of scrutiny. The world was watching. Would this be a beginning or an end? And then it hit her, who really had the power here. As the cameras rolled, the question blazed across her mind, lingering there like smoke waiting to clear. What would they reveal, and how would it change everything? The noise surged like a tidal wave, chaos crashing into order as the crowd pulsed with raw, fiery energy. Every heartbeat resonated with solidarity, but the threat loomed large. Nia could virtually taste the fear rippling across the square, thick like fog. Tension clung to the air, almost solid, making it hard to breathe. The lead officer's eyes flickered between the crowd and his wavering ally. Nia felt the heat of uncertainty radiating from him, as if he too was beginning to question everything he had been a part of. Cameras zoomed in, capturing the flicker of hesitation etched into his features. "Stand down!" he shouted again, but this time, his voice wavered, an echo of his faltering resolve. The crowd tightened around Nia, the weight of their collective presence urging him back, like the calm before a storm. "Together." Tara's voice rose above the swelling cacophony. "United we stand, divided we fall. Let's show them our strength." The echoes of her words seemed to resonate beyond the crowd. They pooled in Nia's chest, igniting a spark of hope. If only they could see they were not just individuals. They were a force, a movement, something unstoppable. But that very power terrified the man in the uniform. Without warning, the lead officer swung his weapon toward the crowd. "Get back, I mean it." Instinct kicked in, and 1,000 hearts raced. Nia's mind screamed for calm. They couldn't let fear win. "We are here for peace," she yelled, locking eyes with him. "We don't want violence. We want understanding." Her words hung heavy in the air, and a ripple of uncertainty flowed through the gathered officers. The younger officer from earlier had stepped to the front, wide-eyed and visibly shaken. He looked to Nia as if desperately searching for guidance. She could see it. He wanted to care, wanted to protect, but felt trapped. "Put the weapons down," he called, voice cracking. "Please. This isn't right." A wave of murmurs spread through the crowd, collective breaths being held, a tightness that whispered potential change. Nia felt her own heart skip. Was this really happening? An officer standing against his own. Fighting won't solve anything. Another voice from the back shouted, emboldened, as if lifted by the newfound courage sparking in their ranks. Nia locked eyes with Tara, and in that moment, everything crystallized. If they could reach that officer, they could reshape the whole narrative. This was a chance to expose the raw truth they had been shouting into the void. It's not too late to join us. Nia pleaded, stepping forward. You can choose courage over fear. Help us make this change. The lead officer's hands tightened around his weapon, body rigid. It was as if he were caught in an unseen tug-of-war. One step back, yet still holding on to his position. The crowd held their collective breath, anticipation mingling with anxiety. Just take a moment. The young officer exclaimed, desperation in his voice. What are we doing here? Suddenly, chaos erupted. A loud bang, a flash of something metallic cutting through the air, then a scream. Nia spun around just in time to see the press thronging toward the stage, microphones thrust forward like weapons, cameras illuminating everything in harsh light. The officer's moment of doubt shattered. Get back! He shouted again, but this time, it sounded less like command and more like panic. The crowd surged forward. No! Nia cried, hands raised. We can stand together. But the lead officer was already retreating, coiling away. The moment had shifted, an instinctual dance of self-preservation kicking in. Fear flowed from him like sweat. He stumbled, looking lost amidst the chaos. Nia felt a deep pang in her chest. This was their moment. The opportunity to bridge the gap was slipping away, grasped by the confusion that mingled with urgency. Don't let it fall apart. Tara's voice rose. We can't allow fear to divide us. Voices surged, rising in collective defiance, carrying through the night like wild flames. Nia had never felt so alive or so terrified. Someone would have to act fast. The young officer was there. Only hope now, a bridge between worlds, but would he take that step? The crowd buzzed with energy, something frantic and electric. Everything was teetering on the edge. As the cameras rolled, capturing every moment, a chilling thought gripped Nia. What if this was the moment the world had been waiting for, but also the moment that could all come crashing down? The ground shook under their feet. Would this moment bring the justice they sought, or would it push them into the abyss? And as that uncertainty loomed over them like storm clouds ready to burst, Nia could only wonder, what would happen if the officer chose to stand with them? What would that choice cost them all? The air thickened, each breath echoing the palpable tension. Nia's heart raced. The moment hung in time, poised at the precipice. The young officer's earlier flicker of hope was fading fast. She could see the conflict etched on his face, his inner turmoil mirrored by the frantic energy of the crowd. With a sudden roar, the crowd surged forward, a wave of frustrated humanity crashing against the police line. Nia felt her breath catch as she moved into the fray, hands raised, voice ringing clear. We are stronger together. She shouted, desperation lacing her tone. This can't end in violence. But her words were drowned out by the chaos, the clamor of police radios crackling in response, the orders becoming a cacophony of confusion. Form a line. Form a line. One officer barked, scrambling to regroup, while the lead officer stumbled back, eyes darting. Nia! Watch out! Tara's shout jolted Nia back to reality. The fear in Tara's voice was sharp, slicing through the chaos. Just as Nia turned, she saw an officer drawing his baton, his expression twisted in anger. No! She yelled, an instinctual plea erupting from her. Time seemed to stretch. The world slowed as she dashed forward, heart pounding against her ribs. Wait! Please don't! But it was too late. A swift motion, a hateful swing. Nia's chest clenched as her world erupted into chaos. She lunged, but in that critical moment, she saw the young officer's eyes. Something flickered there, something more than uncertainty, it was recognition. Stop! He cried, voice powerful in its intent, cutting through the din. This isn't right. Nia caught her breath, eyes locked on him. Would he act? Would he step forward? The crowd gasped as he stepped away from the line, his uniform gleaming under the lights. I can't condone this, he declared, voice breaking. His gaze swept over the officers, his fellow men and women in blue, their faces hardened by fear and anger. "Officer, you're making a mistake." The lead officer barked, panic creeping in, trying to breach his wavering resolve. But the young officer leaned heavily into his burgeoning conviction, fists clenched. "No, this is the mistake. We don't have to be enemies," he shouted, determination rising in his voice like a tide. "We can protect without aggression. We're here to serve the community, not to harm it." The words landed with a thud, rolling through the crowd like thunder. Nia felt the shift. Confusion danced in the eyes of the officers, indecision painting their expressions. The unity that Nia had hoped for was crackling in the air, vibrant and electric. "Yeah. We're not the enemy." Another voice from the crowd chimed in, emboldened by the young officer's courage. It spread like wildfire. Shouts of solidarity echoed through the square. A shift, visceral and profound. The officers hesitated, glancing at one another, uncertainty scratching at the backs of their minds. Could they choose a different path? Were there cracks in their armor? In that moment, it felt as if a dam might burst. Nia struggled to hold on to hope. "We need each other," she implored. "Let's fight together for a better community." The lead officer's gaze flickered with fear. It turned into anger as a loud bang erupted close by. A press photographer had stumbled, someone screamed in confusion. The young officer's attention strayed back to the chaos, the moment teetering again on the edge of catastrophe. Nia's heart sank deeper. The crowd was alive, electrified, yet the threat still lingered in the shadows. She could feel the tension crackling, an undercurrent of fear threatening to drag them all back into battle. "Stay calm," she shouted, hands shaking in the air, trying to stabilize the rapidly escalating situation. Just as she felt the urgency to push forward, a voice broke through, piercing the noise with an unexpected revelation. "I know her," someone yelled from the back. "She's one of us." Nia's pulse quickened, and as eyes turned towards her, she understood, this moment could change everything. But would it? Would the fragile bridge be built, or would it shatter beneath the weight of fear and misunderstanding? And as the realization dawned on her, a chilling thought danced at the edges of her mind: if they all turned against her, what would it mean for the world they sought to build? Could one person's support ignite a revolution, or would it collapse under the pressure of systemic betrayal? Nia feared the answer was only moments away. The energy around them surged dangerously, a tidal wave threatening to engulf everyone. Nia sensed it, the desperation, the fear, the whirlwind of emotions swirling like a hurricane. She felt Tara's hand squeeze hers, a silent promise. Something so simple yet powerful. They were united, and that connection gave her strength. "Listen!" Nia shouted again, her voice rising above the clamor, shaking with emotion. "We can't let fear dictate our future. We have power. Together." Her statement hung heavy in the air, echoing through the gathering crowd. The young officer, his resolve strengthening, turned to face his fellow officers. "We want to build a better future, not let this moment drown us in chaos. We have to support them." His voice rang out with an urgency that seemed to ripple through the air, dispersing doubt. Nia's heart raced, hope ignited within her. The crowd responded, their voices like a chorus of leviathans rising from the depths. "Stand together!" they chanted, eyes locked on the faces of the officers before them. But even in this moment of unity, the darkness loomed. The lead officer tightened his grip on his weapon, visibly shaken. "You're betraying your badge," he shouted, eyes darting dangerously. "No." The young officer replied, stepping forward defiantly. "We're embracing it. We've been given this role to protect, not to instill fear. This is who we are." The crack in the armor was widening, uncertainty flickered in the air. Nia leaned into this opening, pushing the message further. "We deserve to exist without fear. We deserve to be heard," she cried, sweeping her arm across the crowd, urging them to amplify their voices. The chanting grew louder, a rhythmic heartbeat that could not be ignored. Nia! 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 It echoed like thunder, setting off a ripple of solidarity, untangling the web of indecision that had ensnared the officers. Tara stepped forward, merging her energy with Nia's. "Join us!" she shouted, arms lifted to mirror Nia's stance. "This is not just a moment, it's a movement." The crowd roared, feet pounding against the pavement, the ground vibrating beneath them. The power of their unity was palpable. Through the cacophony, Nia caught a glimpse of connection. The young officer's fierce determination sparked embers in those around him. Officers began to shift, hesitantly approaching the lines to stand alongside the people instead of against them. "Together," Nia urged, her heart swelling. "You don't have to choose fear. This is about understanding. We're on the same side." The truth of her words cut through the tension like a hot knife, glistening toward resolutions unthinkable just moments ago. The crowd's energy shifted, evolving into what felt almost like a living thing. It pulsed and surged as one. Nia could feel the warmth of hope wrapping around them like a shared breath, a sense of belonging against the storm raging outside. And then, the lead officer faltered, his shoulders slumping as he began to realize that his grip on control was slipping. "We need to talk to understand," he finally said, vulnerability creeping into his voice. The air hung heavy, shimmering with the promise of change. "Let us make this right," called the young officer again, stepping away from the line, reaching out toward his colleagues. "We can find a way to do this together, as a community. No more us versus them." Nia felt a tear slip down her cheek, a mixture of relief, joy, and hope flooding her heart. Tara watched her, eyes glistening with a shared understanding. They had sparked something monumental. Suddenly, the lead officer lowered his weapon, a symbolic gesture of surrender, an acknowledgement. In that crucial moment, the gathering twisted into an undeniable force, a bridge built on empathy, a chance to reshape their community. "Who's with us?" Nia yelled, raising her arms wide, inviting every heart to join the chorus of hope. The crowd echoed back, a thunderous intimacy merging with purpose. "We stand together." The chants grew, reverberating through the rain-soaked streets like a heartbeat as officers slowly joined the side of the people, breaking the bonds forged from fear. Nia turned to Tara, their eyes locking again. "I think it's finally happening," she whispered, disbelief creeping in like dawn breaking through the darkness. "Yes," Tara replied, her voice strong. "It's just the beginning." As the rain fell steadily, mingling with every tear and every cry of hope, they stood tall, united in a moment that felt like destiny unfolding right before them. Nia knew the journey ahead would still be fraught with challenges, but today, they had altered the course of their narrative. Together, they would write the future. So, this is it. It's time for you to be part of our journey. Don't miss out. Subscribe immediately to the channel and stay updated on all the exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now. Your support fuels our community and helps us reach even more amazing people. And flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this epic conclusion. If you care about making a difference, then share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful ending. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second.